This is my new bonsai. Well, it'll be a bonsai eventually. I collected this on Saturday, the April 27th, at a semi-abandoned nursery. This had been planted at the nursery 40 years ago. I found it. Been wanting a U, so I figured I'd go on this. It was the bonsai group I'm with organized it to go there, and collect different kinds of trees. Yews was one of them that were there because they had planted a lot of yews. Where I got this one, there was a bunch more that were smaller than this, and I actually had missed this one, even though it was 2.5 feet tall. I had missed it at first, walked right past it, like inches from it, didn't notice it. Was looking at some other ones, because you find them out there and they're just like, they'll just be ones that are left. They'll be in like a row, in rows here and there, under bigger trees that have grown naturally over the years. But this was covered in it was just covered in grass and weeds and everything, and you could barely see it. And I was looking around at some other ones and found this one, and this one was a lot better than the ones the group I found them in. But we have to get it out of the soil that it's in, because that's why 40 years and it's only grown 2.5 feet. It's the area has very thick, dense clay soil. So it didn't like the roots. It didn't root well in this stuff. When I had dug this up, I dug a hole. I dug around it, and then the tree pulled right up because there was only maybe a 2-inch layer of dirt, maybe 2-3 inches of layer of dirt that pulled up, and the rest just stayed because the roots were all surface roots and shallow. This should do a lot better once it's in some proper bonsai soil, which we're going to do in this video. We're going to look at the roots. I'm going to remove as much of the soil as I can feasibly remove, because it's just not going to do any good. And I don't think I really lost. I may have cut through one or two roots around it, and some of those will probably be trimmed back anyways, so I didn't really lose much root wise. I just removed as much dirt as I could to make it a little lighter to carry back to my car. But yeah, I see this, at least this going, of this. This might stay, put something here, this might be the top of the tree. This part over here is dead on the top, which I think I might keep as dead wood. It's dead to at least, I had seen a bud right about here. There's a bud coming out right about here, so it's dead from about here on up, at least from here on up. I may make it dead further down, I don't know. Right now we're just going to clean up all this lichen, and there was lots of it growing everywhere. This is where I carried it, so all of what hadn't fell off already had fallen off. There's a lot more falling off. Some fell off in the car on the way home. It's just the bark is coming off, which in old age, the bark peels back. So there's nothing wrong with losing what stuff came off. It just come off really easy because it's covered in thick moss and lichen. So that just made it more readily to fall off. And there's still some places where there's thick moss that I have to cut off. I'm seeing right now I'm seeing some pads back in here with this stuff. This a dead wood feature. These will probably go because I'm thinking this is the front of the tree, because the other side, which would be good, leans this way away from the tree, where this leans towards you. But yeah, this way it tilts more towards the viewer, and these come wrapping around, which is what you're usually looking for in a bonsai tree. You're looking for tilt towards the viewer, and then even the outside, the outer branches are supposed to come towards the thing, sort of like the tree is hugging you. I've heard it described. Whereas if you use this back side, these would have to be removed, and everything's going that way. And even if you tilted it, it still wouldn't look right. It looks better. I think it looks the best from this angle. Something like this. And then these will have to be removed because they're facing the viewer. They're eye pokers. One would have had to been removed no matter what, because they're parallel. They wouldn't work good. This is most likely, like I said, the top here is most likely going eventually. For one, it's 31 and a half. It's 30 31, something like that, inches tall. And that's way too big for the trunk, even though the trunk is pretty thick. It's like about 2.5 inches wide. You still want a shorter tree. I mean, technically, if you go by the rules, it would be half of what I got for a tree, but I don't know if it's going to quite go that low. You can fudge the rules if it looks good. I mean, it's sort of a 6 to 1. It's like 6 inches, 1 inch of trunk thickness for every 6 inches of height. But and that would make it roughly, what did I figure it out? About 15 inches, I think, sort of around in that area, which would be about half of this tree. But we'll see what it looks like. But that's a long way away. This tree's got to grow and get some vigor. It's alive. It should, like the guy that I bought it from said, you know, it really should start growing well once I get it out of there and in some good soil. It's just that, as he said, it's 40 years old and it's only grown this big, and it shows you how much it hated being there. And so I'll get this out of the plastic and we'll start. Oh, let me rotate it first. I'll rotate it around. And then I get it out of the plastic and we'll start working on the roots. Here's what we have in the in here. I don't know what we have for roots. This is what I'm putting it into. So as you see, this is definitely going to have to be removed over here. But other than that, I'm not going to touch it much, except removing as much of this clay soil as I can. Because if you see it, it's just really compact, easy. It's not going to give it a proper bonsai soil will give the roots more air. This one kind of got dried out on the side of the bag anyway, so it's probably not good to keep anyways. But I would figure a little bit off this side and we should be pretty good. Just trim a few things here and there, but other than that, we're going to keep as much as we can for now. Let me find my, just start getting this stuff out of here. Actually, actually might see if I have a second chopstick. Probably got almost a dozen of these chopsticks lying around. I bought this one's the ones that it's got like a spiral on it. These were ones I bought, and then these are ones I keep getting every time I order the soil ingredients I do offline from this place called, what is it called, bonsaijack.com. They give me a metal chopstick with their email their website stuff on it. But two of these might actually help me out better. But I just want to get most of this stuff, and then this is like the last of the weeds. I had scraped all the weeds off the top because this was just, like I said, covered in grass. And I just want most of this soil out of here. And I'm sure not all these like this. This is not even, I don't even think that's, yeah, that's a weed. That's a weed root. That's not even a root for it. That's just some weed that was growing in there. Some of these roots are not even its roots, which is what you get from a collected tree. As you see, it's coming out fairly good, so shouldn't be much. And I'll probably I'll just show you a little bit of this. Nobody wants to watch me remove all this dirt. And then when we're done, and here's more. These are more not its roots. Again, and these, I don't even think any of these top roots are it's grass and weed roots. Okay, I think I will turn the camera off. I will clear what we can, and I will show you the roots when we're done. I thought I'd show you a little bit of my progress. I flipped it over now to start getting some of the stuff off underneath. I've been using the rake in conjunction with the chopsticks. Oh, and I'm also here and there just spraying the roots. You don't want the roots drying out, which they are drying up fairly. I've been spraying them every maybe 5 minutes or so. But part of this root system is good for the root system. Nothing growing down hardly. I mean, there's a few pieces that are growing down that are not alive that I ain't gonna remove them now probably. Because it sits pretty flat right now. Like I said, I'm not going to try to remove much of the roots, just maybe over here. And it looks like there's a really thick root here. I might have some halfway decent roots started that are thick to work off of on this. So here's kind of what's going on underneath. I'm just trying to get some of this dirt out. I've got it uncovered on the top. I'll show you that in a minute. I've got most of it uncovered. There's small roots here, but I think the root line will be lower, should be lower. I don't know if you can see that yet, but there's some nice radial roots here. So this tree is actually going to be maybe, it's say maybe an inch taller when we're done, from where the root was and where the soil line was, which was about here. It's about a good inch. So yeah. So I'll get back to this and we'll fill you in later. Okay, I've got most of the dirt off. This piece, and I was going to cut some of it off. I think most of it's going to go, because let's see if I can show you this. This root's in the way. This root is a huge root, and I'm never going to be able to use it as a root. And part of it's got to go, so I don't know. I'm trying to decide if I want to remove it now or remove it later. It might be easier to remove now and take the chance, just for the fact that if I remove it later and the roots grown in, I could ruin new roots that grow in. So it might be better to cut this back now. This is gonna, I think this is gonna go whether I keep that branch or not. It's kind of sticking up anyways. It's kind of sticking up. It's kind of in the way right now. So I'm just gonna remove that off. Anyways, one way or the other. Now, I think I could show you this better in here. There's a big root. It's probably about, I don't know, half to 2/3 the thickness of this. No, it's probably about half of the thickness of this. The trunk really is never going to be used for anything. Although it might, at the end, I might try to cut it back and let it grow. What we could do for now is cut it here. There'll be, so we get most of this stuff off that is not going to be able to fit in the pot anyways. I think I will leave it so I don't cut more than I have to off. What I will do, there's a root back here with some fibrous roots, some feeder roots on it. This has got feeder roots on it. So if we cut it here, I can decide what to do with this another time. We can leave that for another time, and it still leaves some roots here and here. And we get rid of this, which has to go anyways. Like I said, it won't fit in my pot otherwise. So I will do that off camera. No reason to have you watch me saw through this. I'll saw through it probably right about there, like that. And I'll just do that off camera. So here is what we're left with. These out of the way. Yeah, that's another root that isn't it. And I did find some other roots that I think were U roots, but they weren't this U roots. So yes, this is the only. This is fat. It's not quite as fat as I thought, so it might be usable to cut back and let smaller roots grow off of it. But it had smaller roots here growing off of it. But we kept some of the stuff, so we didn't remove everything. We just removed enough I can fit it in that pot. And really nowhere else did I remove anything. That is the only place that really anything got removed. That got cut off, and then that weird one got cut off there. And this is just going to stick out. So I'm going to remove this because A, it doesn't have that much feeder roots on it. Bring this back to there just to get that out of the way. And probably this, because this will just stick out of this will definitely stick out there. And then this one growing up, probably a little bit off. Hate to cut anything off, but they're just really in the way of potting this up. That should be good. That's what we got for a root system. honestly not bad for what soil what it was growing in, and the fact that it's all surface. You know, it's all within the like 3 or 4 inches of the surface. So next we will put it in the pot and tie it in and all that good stuff. Okay, here it is. As tight as it's going to get in this pot. This pot just gives in the bottom too much. And I probably terrible at, I think I'm terrible at tying trees in. Why, if I can get away with it, I don't bother tying them in. But this is too big. This is too big. Not enough roots. Would never work. So I'll start filling it in. I've showed you plenty of times how to fill it in. So now I've gone around this whole thing like this. I've just poked the chopstick in, and whenever you find a an air pocket, like actually there's still one here. I've got most of it. I'm still going around it, so I figured I'd show you. The soil will just kind of fall into the hole as you do it, and you just do that all over the place. Get all the soil down in there and get rid of air pockets in there, because that won't help the roots. Air pockets. And just something like that. I've got most of all this. Yeah, I'm not finding any more air pockets. Just kind of messing up this surface, really. And then just take this and try to get some more soil out. Because of course the surface of the soil will go down as you find holes. So I just want to fill this back up to a nice level. So everything's nice and covered. And you can just give it like a pat and it'll help settle things down too. If it was not as heavy, I'd pot it, and then you just water it. From here, don't think I'm going to do anything to the top of the tree right now. One, I want it to get some vigor, grow some roots, and in this stuff it should start growing better roots. And I don't think I'll bother you with the removal of this. Most of it's gone, but I'll show you most of it just pulls right off. It's coming right off, and then where it won't come off, I will go and take a toothbrush and gently scrape all this moss and lichen off the tree. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and see you next time.